Just waiting for a few people to turn up, just to make sure we're going to get everybody. We're broadcasting this on Periscope as well, just to be on the safe side. Let's see if it works, because I think it'll be an interesting time to see if we can get this type of thing working. Today I'd like to talk to you about how small business can create a better framework for business. So to protect yourself in the digital world, and also just to make sure that a lot of things are in place so that you don't get targeted by not only the bad guys, but everything else that is out there. So that's that's the aim of the presentation, and hopefully you'll get something out of it, and you'll be able to go to the next level and improve the security around your business and your organisation. We'll wait another couple of minutes just for a couple of stragglers that are coming, just to make sure we've got everybody, and then we'll just get stuck into it. You won't see me. I'll put up a slide show that there's not that much text on it. I'm not gonna baffle you with PowerPoint-itis, but we hopefully will get everybody on the same page when it comes to digital security. Okay, I'm going to start now. Well, we all know how complicated the digital world can be. No matter what you're doing on it, no matter what you're in charge of, no matter what part of it you're using for your business, it gets pretty complicated pretty quickly. And on top of that, if you're not really careful about what is happening, you then become a target of cyber criminals and cybercrime. And what we are trying to avoid is making sure that you are not in there. So what we're going to do today is discuss the understanding the requirements of digital security, and just give an overview of what you need to do to protect your organisation in the digital world. My name is Roger Smith. I'm a speaker. I'm also a Amazon #1 author on digital crime. I'm the CEO of R&I Consulting, and I focus on getting everyday users of the digital world to understand the dangers and take necessary precautions. So my role is to stop smart people making dumb mistakes, and that's what it's all about. So this presentation will just go through introduction, what the bad guys are after and why we know they are after it, how the bad guys get in and how they target you, what are the basics of digital security, and then we're going to go into the 4 pillars of digital protection and what it means to an organisation. Then we'll talk about getting the right balance and why you need to get that balance involved. And we'll just go into other things like why you also need to look at the non-digital stuff to protect your organisation. And on top of that, at the end of it, we'll go through what you can do now. The digital world is used by all of us, literally anybody in business in the Western world now has some presence in the digital world, whether it's just a basic email or it's a full-blown 3,000 people using a cloud-based system all over America or Australia or England and those areas. The reason why we're going to the digital world, mainly because it's cost-effective, and on top of that, it is low cost. But we use it for everything: social media, business, networking, search, innovation, R&D. We use it on our websites and we use it for marketing and sales. And it is a very interesting balance to make sure that you have the convenience of the digital world, but you're also protecting yourself from the bad guys. Originally, crime started with I had something that someone else wanted and they took it away from me. And then in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, we had a large group of people storing their money in specific places. And that's when we had the rise of the bank robbers and the places like Jesse James, Ned Kelly, Ronald Biggs, because a group of people could steal from a larger group of people. In 2014, we had the Target hack. It was a very small group of people stole information and money from 34 million people. And this is what we're talking about, the exponential rise in crime. Because at the moment, making sure that you are protected means also making sure that when you give your information away, that is protected as well. But what do the digital criminals want? What do the bad guys really, why are they doing what they do? Well, they need access to your money and access to money itself, but also access to money under your control. So that access to money also means that they are looking for ways to get you to compromise your security and give them your money. They're also after your intellectual property, your trade secrets, your tactics, how you work, how you do business. And all of that information is really important if they want to come in and try and take over something else that you're already doing. One of the other things they're most importantly after is they're after your client information. Because with the client information, they can go off and target other people, and becomes part of their social engineering component of the digital world so that they can find out all the right information about what you're doing and what your clients are doing. But one of the things that people forget is they're also after your technology. They're after your Wi-Fi system, they're after your router, they're after your PC, they're after your laptop, they're after your smart devices, because they can then use those smart devices to target other people. But on top of that, your technology is worth money to them. And because it's worth money to them, they are quite happy to compromise your system and make sure that you are then become non-controlled by yourself. And that is why we lose control of our technology with things like malware and viruses and worms. So what are they using to get in? Well, in most cases, the number one attack weapon of the cyber criminal or the digital criminal is email, because everybody's got an email account. And email is easy enough to target. It doesn't cost them any money. And with the rise of email, we also saw the rise of spam. In the 1990s, early 2000s, we had spam that was more interested in selling Viagra or getting a Nigerian prince's money out of Nigeria. But then the smarter criminals got hold of it and started utilizing it for other things. And then we had the rise of the phishing email. And we've still got phishing email that we get nowadays. The classic example is the crypto virus. We get a phishing email that's addressed from the ATO or the post office or internal revenue, because we are very willing to open and look at an email that is based on that. But then again, we then had the introduction of the spear phishing, and this has only been around for the last maybe 6 to 7 years. Spear phishing is an email that comes into your system that is specifically targeted at you. Because they're specifically targeted at you, they've done their research. They know who you are. They know who you're targeting. They know what your friends are. They know what your business is. They know what your hobbies are. And they will write an email that is specifically aimed at you, making that idiot decision to click on the link. But the trouble, what phishing email and spam and the spear phishing email are doing is they're targeting exploits within your system. And the exploits are pieces of code that haven't been written properly, or they've been removed but they haven't been deleted from programs. And these programs that have these exploits, you know, Windows has 2.5 million lines of code. And finding a specific error in that takes a lot of work. The trouble is, the cyber criminals have got the time and the energy to do that, and that's what they do. But just like we have operating systems on PCs, we have operating systems on websites as well. We have the underlying operating system. The underlying operating system is what hosts the website itself. So if that gets compromised, all of the websites above it get compromised as well. And they use that compromised system to actually farm out malware to other people. We've also got the insider. And the insider can either be a malicious person who doesn't like your systems, doesn't like you, doesn't like your business, and they've been employed by you and you've realized that they don't like you and they have stolen information or stolen systems or put malware on your system. But there's also the unintentional one, that person who has clicked on the link that you didn't want them to click on. And that has exposed both your PC and your business to the digital criminal. And you don't want that to happen. So what are the basics? The basics are really easy. There's 8 of them. And those 8 basic things that you need to do will protect you in the digital world. I'll miss the first one, but passwords. Passwords are really important. They're your passport to the internet. They are your passport to the internet on any number of websites that you go to. Passwords have to be longer than 8 characters. They have to be complex, so anything on the keyboard is fair game. And they have to be unique for every website you go to. And that, as you can understand, that is a problem just in itself, unless you have a system of doing it. And I have a number of videos that you can watch that will actually explain how to create complex passwords that are really easy to remember. I was talking about exploits earlier. So when an application or an operating system developer finds that they have an exploit, they will patch it. They will send out an update that will remove the capability of something being able to target that issue. And although 99.9% of exploits are benign, they can't do anything. They can, yeah, you can maybe create a character on the screen, but it's not going to cause a problem. They're not going to allow access to the back end of the computer. The next thing you need to do is worry about antivirus. And antivirus is really important because it catches that 99.9% of the viruses that have been around for a while. And by catching that, it then means that you can keep an eye out for that other 0.01% or 0.1%. The problem with the digital world is it's digital. My laptop falls in the, gets flooded out, or I drop a cup of coffee on it, or I drop my phone in the toilet, or someone steals my tablet, then all of that information that was on it is now gone. So we have to make sure that we are backing it up, and backing it up in such a way that it's not stored with the same place. So if I lose my phone, I have a backup of all my contacts, all my videos, all my films. The next thing we have to worry about is firewalls. And firewalls are used to protect you from the digital world. They stop those basic attacks coming into your PC or into your business. And they are there to make sure that whatever government comes from inside the business goes out, but everything on the outside doesn't come back in. And then there's 2 that we've coined. Paranoia. Fear the digital world. Don't be scared of it, but have that underlying system in place that you go, oh, should I do that? Or shouldn't I do that? Or why am I doing that? And the last one is common sense. Common sense is really important when it comes to making that split-second decision between clicking on that link that encrypts all your data on your PC or not clicking on the link. And common sense is a question about where did they get my email address? How come they're targeting me and why are they sending me an email? So what is a framework? And I'd like to talk to you the framework we've developed that is, I suppose, an easier way to understand how you can protect yourself. There are a number of frameworks out there. This is just a few. We've got the Controlled Objectives for Information and Related Technologies, so COBIT. We've also got the ISO 27000 series, and we've got the NIST Special Production 800 series. And these are complicated frameworks around how you do business. And they want you to change your business to fit in with these frameworks. And that's where the problems really start from. Because no longer can we say you are a X in this industry, so this is how you have to do business. Because if everybody else is doing business that way, there's no advantage in doing it. And that's where technology is really coming to its own. But also we've got the vendor-based technologies and the vendor-based frameworks. And those frameworks are things like the Cisco security framework that relies on Cisco products, or strategic framework if you're using cloud, or an IT security policy, which is a really basic framework about how you are going to protect your business. So we've taken all this information and we've tailored it down to 4 pillars of digital security. And what you really need to do to protect your organization. You need to worry about the technology in place of how you are going to do business. And that technology makes your business so much better and makes you competitive in the industry. You also need to have a management component. And that management component takes into account all of the other components and the pillars of security. We then have to have an adaptability component. And the adaptability component is not about if something goes wrong, but it also involves having your organization able to change direction without losing impetus. So you can see an opportunity, and if you are adaptable, you can actually grasp that opportunity without having a problem. And then the last one is we all have a government compliance component. And that government compliance component is how it's all based in the industry or via government, or how you want to do business yourself. So let's just take a step back and go through each of these areas. The technology, literally all of the technology components of your business. So you have your operating systems, your hardware, your software, your applications, your encryption, your cloud, BYOD and how you're going to manage it, firewalls, wireless, VPN, antivirus, and tie it all together with best practice. And best practice is usually created by the vendors that say, this is the best way of putting my system together. And to me, that is really important, because if you don't have the best practice of how that system is put together, then it's not going to work to your benefit anyway. The second component is management. So management processes that we need to know and who is involved in what they are. So we have the 3 Ps, processes, policies, and procedures. Because you want to have your accountant come into the business and go, what is my role? So that's part of your procedures, part of your processes, part of your policies. But also on top of that, you need to audit all your technology. You need to have reports coming out of your technology. And you've got to be very aware of the reports that come out of technology, because they're only reporting on those systems. So you need to have an overall reporting system that'll help you make decisions at the top level. You also need training and education. And education and training are really important if you want to protect your business. Because if you start training and educating your people, they will then actually come back and say, we need to do X. Because X is what my education has told me. Then we have the adaptability. So we're looking at risk assessment, risk management, disaster recovery, business continuity, your cyber and digital resilience, and also your culture. Your culture is also just as important as anything else, Because if your culture doesn't allow Joe Bloggs, who's working at reception, to come to the managing director and say, we've got a problem and this is why, and the managing director actually accepting that he has a problem, then culture is going to have a big impact in protecting your organisation. And then, as I said, we have compliance. And compliance is probably the most difficult component to define, because all businesses, all industries, and all organisations are unique. They are different from each other and different from anywhere else, because we are all unique, and how we do business depends on who you are. So, all of these framework components of the framework make your framework a lot better and a lot easier to understand. It also means you're going to be making decisions based on fact, not hearsay, not on what's coming out of the back end, not coming from the IT department who's saying everything's rosy. But as I said, most frameworks are created by companies, and they usually say, buy my widget because my widget is the best and it will protect you and you will be secure. What a load of poppycock. There's no silver bullet in the digital world. There's no way of significantly protecting yourself by using a product. And from Cisco all the way through to D-Link and TP-Link, there is a way around every system. You might not be able to get through a FortiGate or a Juniper or a Fortinet firewall, but there are ways around it. And that's why you need to have a framework in place. And by having this attitude that my widget is the best, we're not having a holistic impact on your business. We are not protecting the business. And that is also what this is all about. But a framework has to have certain features to make it all work. And it has to have features to a level where we are making sure that everything we're doing for the framework is actually helping the framework. It has to be agnostic. It doesn't matter whether you've got a Cisco firewall, a FortiGate access point, you're using semantic on the inside to protect yourself at endpoint protection level. All of those components have to work together. And it doesn't matter whether it's a FortiGate firewall or a Cisco firewall. It is a firewall, second generation firewall that does X. So it doesn't matter what the hardware is. It has to be understandable. All the people in the organization has to understand why you are doing something to make sure your business is protected and what is in place. And we have to have some sort of puzzle that we keep putting little bits together and making it so everybody understands that the firewall is there for a reason. The reason why we've got these policies is there for a reason. So it has to be understandable by everybody involved. One of the things we find with most technology companies is they want your business to change to support their technology. To me, it's the other way around. The framework has to support your business, and it has to support your business to a level where you don't have to change how you do business. Because if you change how you do business, you don't have the alacrity to be able to go, we can swivel on a pin to change direction. So the technology has to be in place to make sure that you can do that swivel if you need to. So it has to support your business, not the other way around. It has to be manageable. And what I mean by manageable, someone has to know where all the bits go together and what bits are doing what. And your framework, whether it's either your technology or your adaptability, has to be something that you know, this is what we do. We have a business continuity plan, and this business continuity plan does X. And that is really important for what we're trying to do with this framework. Most importantly, your framework has to protect. We know there's no such thing as 100% security, but we can try for it. And that's what this is all about. Trying to make yourself as secure as both your money and your capability and your team can make you. So it has to protect you. And because we're trying to protect you, we're not going to go out and buy, if we've got an income of, let's say we've got a revenue of $100,000 a year, we're not going to go out and buy a $50,000 firewall. So we have to have some cost effectiveness in place to make sure that we are getting the best bang for buck. We all know what the old castles used to be and why they were built and what stopped them from being as efficient as what they used to be. Originally, the medieval castle was designed to protect the lord who was in the castle itself. And it lasted up until we started creating cannons and we started firing cannonballs at each other. But your framework has to build defense in depth. The thing about a castle was you had a moat, you had a drawbridge, you had high walls, you had people behind those walls. And because you had people behind those walls, if they got through the first levels of security, then they were up there to pour oil all over the people who were trying to attack you. Most importantly, no matter what we're trying to do with the framework, each component has to support the other components of the framework itself. So we need to have the right technology in place to make sure that we can have the right management plans in place and to assist in working out what risk is involved. And one of the things that we push is if you've got a system in place at the moment and you don't want to spend lots of money, when you do spend money, that you don't replace the Netcom router with another Netcom router. You go to the next level. So you replace it with a Linksys, for instance. More expensive, but it does a lot better. But most importantly, your framework has to be stable. It has to allow you to do things that if you unplug things and plug things in, is not going to cause the whole system to fall over. And that is very important to making sure that your business can do business. And finally, your framework has to work. If you haven't got all the components in place and they're not all acting holistically, then your framework's not going to work and it's not going to protect you at all. So it's very hard to understand how we get the balance right. And the balance is very important. And it does depend on how much money you've got and how much you want to throw around. So is there a problem with SMEs and how we protect digital security? Well, yes, there is, because an SME has a number of problems just in its inherent capability itself. We have a problem with money. And as I said, if you're a $100,000 business, you're not going to spend $50,000 on securing that business itself. You might spend $5,000, and if there's only 2 or 3 of you, $5,000 will probably do the job. But because you lack the funds to be able to put a security system in place and create a framework, there are other ways around the framework itself. We also lack the expertise. We don't understand things like threat intelligence. We understand endpoint protection because that's usually an antivirus system. But we don't understand identity management. Or we don't understand incident response or anomaly detection. Because these are words that are thrown around by vendors that really mean the threat intelligence of you being attacked is probably about 60%. And that's not including a targeted attack on you yourself. How are you managing your identity and your internal people? What usernames and passwords are you using? Those are the things that we just haven't got the expertise to manage. And also, we all know that time and money is absolutely annoying when you're in small business. Because when you are in small business, then you have a problem with making sure that the time and the money that you have are focused on the business itself. Because if you don't focus on the business, all the security doesn't bloody matter anyway. So you have to focus on money, time, and then find out how you're going to cover the expertise. But it's not just about digital. The digital component, yes, are very important, but also your non-digital stuff. Have you got locks on your phones? When your phones are sitting in the cafe, are they locked? Do they wipe themselves if someone puts in the passcode 5 times? That is not a digital solution. Is it a physical solution? You have locks on your doors and windows. You have internal doors on specific offices. These are not digital, but they're just as important to protecting your business. So what can you do now? Well, the first thing you can do is go back to your office and do a risk analysis. Work out what your risks are. Work out what risks are being created by having not the right technology in place. The second thing you need to do is find some money to upgrade all your non-business related components to business systems. And that includes getting a decent firewall or getting a decent access point. The other things you need to do is educate your users. Because if you educate your staff, then, as I said before, it will be delivered to your business tenfold. Because you have people who are actually looking at the issues. And this increases awareness. And what you really need is for people to be very aware of what's going on. And then there's some simple things you need to do. Put some posters up around your organisation. If you send me an email, I'll quite happily send you a PDF of 10 of them that you can put up. A3s, get them printed at Officeworks, off you go. Initiate a training and education program. I'll just explain between training and education. Education is when you take everybody and take their level to a different level for what they are. So you're going to educate them inside digital security. But training is usually based on getting someone to understand the complexities of a piece of technology. And that training is really important as well. You also need to run competitions, because competitions increase awareness within your organisation as well. Make it fun. Don't bore people with, you've got to have a complex password of 25 characters. But if you have a competition that runs that the first person who gets the answer every day gets a $5 card from somewhere, and the person who does it the most during the week gets a $30 whatever, then you will see that your awareness will increase across the board. So thank you very much. If you need to get in contact with me, drop me an email at roger@rogersmith.com.au, or give us a phone, or jump on the website. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, all of those places. And thank you very much for your for coming to the webinar. Much appreciated. This will be uploaded to Google Hangouts and also to YouTube in the next half hour. So if you want to rewatch it, you can. If you have any questions, just pump them into the system, and the system will actually tell me if you've got a question. Okay, we don't seem to have any questions, which is really nice. So thank you very much, and I will talk to you next time.